A lot of you asked me to check out Dr. Ellie Phillips after I had done my 2 videos on xylitol. And guess what? I'm going to do that right now. So I went deep into the rabbit hole. I started looking into Dr. Ellie Phillips, what she was doing, how she was doing things, her complete mouthcare system. I ended up buying her 2 books to look through them so I didn't miss anything. And I also bought her products before to test out in the xylitol gum video that I made. So I have the mints and also have the gum. I also looked at her blog and also all of the videos that she creates on YouTube. And in this video, I'll be going over the good, the bad, and the ugly on Dr. Ellie Phillips. And at the end of it all, I'll give you my opinions as to if I think Dr. Ellie Phillips is a dental quack or a oral hygienist saint. Just before we begin, I just want to let you know that guess what? Surprise, I'm not a doctor. But I'm just a curious person that has done a lot of experiments, is willing to look up a lot of research and go through studies to understand why things work and why things maybe don't work. So I'm just a person that loves digging into things, and these are the things that I've found about Dr. Ellie Phillips. Let's begin with the good things about Dr. Ellie Phillips. The first thing that I want to mention is that she is promoting xylitol awareness. And this is pushing the understanding that oral health doesn't really have to only be around brushing, flossing, mouthwash, and the normal mainstream narrative that dentists usually push. There are other ways to maintain your oral hygiene, and xylitol is one of those tools in your toolbox. I've done my own experiments and I know that it works for me, and I just really hope that more people like Dr. Ellie Phillips will push the awareness of xylitol because it really is a groundbreaking way to maintain your oral hygiene. The next thing that I really like about Dr. Ellie Phillips's approach is that she pushes a complete mouthcare system. It is a system that works for everyone, according to her, but it is yet again a system. It's a strategy to combat bad oral hygiene. And even though I'm not fully convinced by the whole system, it is at least a routine, something that people can try to see if that system works for them. And a lot of the times when you get advice from your dentist, it's not like they're giving you new knowledge. A lot of the times it's just things that you already know, like, oh yeah, just brush better, just floss a bit more, just take care of your teeth and don't drink as much pop. But the thing is that if you do those things to a T and you still have bad oral hygiene, then you need to find something else that works. And trying out other systems might be the solution that you're looking for. Another thing that I really like about Dr. Ellie Phillips is that she's going against the narrative and she's doing the things that she has seen work with her own eyes. And this is the issue when you go into a more unorthodox oral hygiene system or anything else that is kind of like off grain. It becomes harder to find studies around it because not a lot of people are looking into it due to its obscurity. Now let's talk about the bad side of Dr. Ellie Phillips. When I was looking at her total or complete mouthcare system and just calculating the price of that system costs around $500. And that is pretty expensive. So that already puts the threshold of learning and using the system pretty high up there. But also, she kind of gatekeeps the knowledge of how to use the system. So if you're just curious and want to maybe use some parts of the system, you need to either buy the books that she has or sign up for her online course or just straight up buy the complete mouthcare system. So it really is pretty expensive to come across this knowledge and then apply it because you yet again need to get the products that are pretty expensive. And if you don't want to get the products directly from Dr. Ellie Phillips, you'll have to understand the system, which also costs money because you need to buy her other resources. So there is, of course, a financial incentive here because Dr. Ellie Phillips has a company that makes zellies, the mints and the gum that she uses in her system. And she also gets a kickback from all the products that she has put into her complete mouthcare system because she needs to source them and then she puts them into her kit. Even on her website, she also has Amazon affiliate links that then get a kickback when people use those links to buy products. Personally, I don't think that it's such a bad thing to have a financial incentive when it comes to these things, but it is something to be aware of because the amount of pushing that she does on her products feels kind of not grimy, but it's like, ugh, I'm being sold to like so hard when I'm looking at her content, like her blog posts and videos. I believe, or in my opinion, that is something that I see a lot when I'm watching and reading Dr. Ellie Phillips's content. And personally, I don't mind those types of claims, but if I can look into a claim and see that there are studies that say the opposite, I start to question the validity of what is being said. Here's an example. So, in her gum receding video, where she says that you can use her system to regrow gums, she also mentions two other things that you really shouldn't be blaming brushing teeth for receding gums, and also you shouldn't be blaming grinding teeth to receding gums. So I was curious. I looked it up and I was looking into if either brushing habits or grinding your teeth could lead to receding gums. And here are two studies. One of them says a statistically significant relationship between gingival recession and frequency, duration, and technique of toothbrushing was found, while the greatest amount of gingival recession was found in horizontal scrub technique. Gingival recession increased with increasing toothbrushing duration and frequency. So, brushing can cause gums to recede. What about clenching? Here's a study on bruxism, which is the grinding or clenching of teeth. V-shaped local retraction is associated with teeth subjected to occlusal trauma, especially in patients with bruxism and clenching habits. And there's also a lot of claims that are just being tossed around without any evidence or substance behind it. When she says things like, there are no conclusive studies to show flossing or tongue scraping are superior to good toothbrushing. The thing is that these things are tools in your arsenal to clean your teeth. You floss your teeth because your toothbrush cannot go in between your teeth, and you scrape your tongue to remove a lot of the bacteria on your tongue to then use it as a supplement to maintaining a good oral hygiene. So you don't use it and see if it's better than toothbrushing or not. You use it together to create a oral hygiene routine. And here's just a study saying that tongue scraping and tongue brushing groups showed statistically significant reductions in plaque levels after 10 days and also after 21 days. Personally, I think it's probably a more strategic, smart thing to not include a lot of studies because a lot of the studies kind of encapsulate the old way of doing oral hygiene and they are framed in that way. So, for example, with flossing, usually you floss because you want to remove the plaque in between your teeth because brushing doesn't have any way to get in between your teeth. But guess what? Xylitol has a way to break down plaque not only on your teeth surfaces, but in between your teeth surfaces because it swishes around your mouth to then break down that plaque between your teeth. And that is why Dr. Ellie Phillips also doesn't recommend flossing that much. So a lot of the studies that would talk about flossing would not take into account another way of breaking down that plaque in between your teeth. Greetings, fancy seeing you here in my mini editing dungeon. Now, I just want to let you know that if you enjoy the content here on this channel, then consider giving a one-time donation, or perhaps even if you're feeling extra generous, maybe even joining as a member so that you can get some extra perks like early access to the videos, exclusive posts, and so on. Now, back to the video. Now let's talk about the ugly of Dr. Ellie Phillips. The first thing that I want to talk about is good and bad bacteria. This is something that she talks about a lot, how her complete mouth care system really promotes those good bacteria in your mouth and suppresses and eliminates those bad bacteria. But the thing is that in her system, she also has three different mouthwashes. One of them is a Listerine alcohol mouthwash, and you'll be using these rinses twice per day. Doesn't that also kill the good bacteria in your mouth? Or are the bacterias just dodging it somehow? I just wish that we could get a bit more granular on these statements. What are the good bacterias? Why isn't the Listerine that you have in your complete mouth care system also eliminating those good bacteria in your mouth? Here's my thoughts on it after really thinking about it and trying to understand what we're trying to achieve over here. There aren't really any good bacterias in your mouth. It's just a neutral mouth where you have a lot of saliva that is naturally produced by your body that has all of those good properties. That is the good bacteria in your mouth. And to get a really high ratio of that good saliva in your mouth, you need to eliminate as much of the bad bacteria in your mouth so it doesn't get diluted when you produce saliva. So instead of thinking about it as bad bacteria and good bacteria, I actually think it should be reframed more as bad bacteria and neutral saliva. And that is just my thoughts about it. Yet again, I'm not a scientist. I haven't looked into any studies around this, but that is what I think is happening in your mouth. Another aspect that I want to highlight is that the complete mouthcare system is pretty intense. It's pretty extreme of a system. So you have three rinses, you have xylitol products, and you have a specific toothpaste. But the thing is that she recommends in her system that you should be using the rinses twice per day, and you should also be using the Zelly's mints 5 times per day. That is a massive routine that is yet again not needed for everyone. Haven't you heard about these people that sometimes just have the most basic of routines? Like, oh yeah, I just brush and rinse my mouth and my teeth are amazing and fine. For these people, a system like this would be overkill. It would be too much. And for other people who have really bad oral hygiene, yeah, maybe all of these products are needed, but in my opinion, that is the minority. You should be tailoring your oral hygiene routine to your needs. Not everyone should be prescribed the same amount of dosage of oral hygiene products because that is just too much for a lot of people and exactly enough for the people that are in dire need. A lot of the times it feels like she promotes her system in such a way that it's her way or the highway, saying things like, oh yeah, if it didn't work, then you didn't follow the system properly. And she does this by saying things like,
And I am saying you need every single millimeter of that protective covering until you get your gums to regrow. So continuous cleanings are going to be working against you. And the only reason to go for continuous cleaning is if you really have horrible oral health. And if you have horrible oral health, you haven't listened to me, you're not brushing the way I recommend, you're not using my complete mouth care system, you're not doing adequate xylitol, then go have the cleaning because you're not going to regrow your gums unless you do these things.
and I'm really not a fan of this singular approach of it's only my way that will work, and all of these other methods that I have mentioned just don't work. So why are you even trying them? Just try my way, and you just need to believe in this way, and all of your oral hygiene issues, all of the cavities, all of your receding gums, all of the bad breath, they'll disappear. Just use my system. So should you try the Complete Mouthcare System by Dr. Ellie Phillips? In my opinion, most people don't need to use the whole system. I highly recommend trying out Xylitol. It's a great product that really works well after meals. If you have really bad oral hygiene, then yeah, I would actually try the system. Now, what do I find problematic with Dr. Ellie Phillips? There are three things that I want to mention. The first thing is that there's just a lack of studies around what she's doing. Personally, I don't mind a lack of studies because I do a lot of experimentation myself, but a lot of people out there want to see the studies. We want to see that there has been a X amount of people trying this product and it's not going to harm you or anything. And I know that she has been a dentist for many years, and she probably has the knowledge in her head and she's seen it happen and it works in her mind. But a lot of the times when you're sharing such a unique and unorthodox way of doing oral hygiene with people, you need to give a bit more evidence and substance to people to convince them that it works. And I know that there aren't a lot of studies out there that showcase the benefits of all of the products that she is touting in her complete mouthcare system, but at least share the ones that she has used to influence her own opinions on this. And a lot of the times, the claims that she's saying, I could find studies that went in the opposite direction of that claim. The second thing that I think is problematic is that everything that she does, the products, the knowledge, is behind a paywall. And if you want to learn about her system, you need to either yet again go through her kit that costs $55, or you need to buy her books, or you need to sign up for her online bootcamp, which is free for the first 2 lessons, but then you gotta pay after that. And it's just a lot of barriers for people to just look in to see if this system might be something that they want to try. And even though we live in a capitalistic world, I just feel like it would be nice to share more of that knowledge in a open format, like all of the studies that she's looked through and all of the techniques that she's using, so other people can experiment with that further. And the last problematic thing is that it's always her complete mouthcare system that is the solution to all of the problems. And this really is problematic in itself. So you need to focus on a lot of different things, and there are other ways to maintain a really good oral hygiene. It's not just her way of doing things that is the only way. And I feel like a lot of the times when I'm looking at her content and what she's sharing, she's always downplaying all of these other solutions that people are using to maintain their oral hygiene, and then always putting her own system on a pedestal, saying that this is the one way that you will solve all of your oral hygiene woes. Now, finally, is Dr. Ellie Phillips a dental quack or a oral hygiene saint? In my opinion, she is more of a idealistic Xylitol warrior. She is really touting some really cool methods of oral hygiene, but she is so idealistic in her certain specific system, and that is the only system that she really pushes. And she pushes it really hard, which makes it so that all of these other solutions that might be around her is not even being considered anymore. It's all about the things that she has seen work. This is the only things that I'm pushing, and that is the complete mouthcare system. So to reiterate, I really do think that her mouthcare system works for a lot of people that have really bad oral hygiene, but it's not for everyone. It should be recommended for the minority that have extreme issues with their oral hygiene and not the majority of people. I hope you've learned something about Dr. Ellie Phillips, and maybe you now have a better opinion about her, her practices, her techniques, her complete mouthcare system, and so on. If you have had any experience with either Xylitol or her complete mouthcare system, then I would actually love to hear about those experiences down below in the comment section. That's it for this video. My name is Paul, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.